Hello, my name is Omar Rampersad. It is November 25th, 2016 at 5:24 p.m. in Toronto. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about community targeting and monitoring and teams that do the monitoring and how that translates into human trafficking. As I stated before in other videos, I am being targeted in the community starting at my condominium compound in which I live. And this has been going on for quite a while, years. And that targeting has spilled over in the community and in the workplace. And just about after so many years, it's everywhere. Uh, the idea being the word is spread everywhere I am. This is done word of mouth and, of course, through cell phones and websites and so on, and direct feeds and so on. So I'm suspecting that's the case. The monitoring is carried out by teams. The community, I'm suspecting the way it's structured, based on all the harassing comments I get, mainly outside my window, and in the gym and so on. There are teams that are rotating the surveillance of me because I'm represented as someone who is possibly suicidal, mentally retarded, and criminally minded, because I'm registered in the system as someone who is suspected of doing a lot of criminal activity, prostitution, solicitation, stealing, and so on, spying. Um, so all of these, of course, is a result of out and out lies, misrepresentation, intentionally signing statements and affidavits, just lying and saying things that just isn't true. This is all, again, just part of the targeting program. And any quote unquote evidence that were gotten is a result of entrapment situation. Traps are set, and you're triggered and incited into anger to react a certain way. And normally you would not react that way, so you're made to react a certain way. And I'm going to use loosely the term mind control into reacting a certain way. That reaction is then recorded and used as quote unquote evidence. So it's all part of a conspiracy, I'm suspecting. So the teams, then, just to go back to that topic, the teams are formed everywhere you go. So right now I'm suspecting that somebody has in my community, in my living community, has signed up to be this monitor. And I'm suspecting that the person who's done this is exactly the same person who I complained about and have been complaining about for a little while now, for certain things that I've observed in the environment. So this is a great way of getting revenge. If you did something that the community doesn't like, or one person in the community doesn't like, just about anybody in your environment who has contact with you, who could look at you every day, who meet with you on a consistent basis, can report on you, because it's a community report. So then, anybody who has a grudge against you will sign up to do this report, and of course will lie about everything you do and say, and intentionally misinterpret everything you do and say in a criminal manner. So I'm suspecting this is the case. I'm also suspecting this is the case in the condominium in which I live. I'm also suspecting that that person is given the monitoring rights to people who are, who are around me, who live around me. And these people are calling the cops on every little thing that they hear I say, and things that I do. If I were to talk loudly in my unit, they may call the cops or call the monitor who's responsible to call the cops and say things like, well, she's talking to herself again, if they hear my voice in the unit. Because I'm registered as someone who's mentally retarded and mentally ill. So little stupid things like this. So this is just an example, and I'm suspecting that it's happening in my condominium. And I'm also suspecting that a lot of calls are being made for unnecessarily being made, just to compile a file that makes me look a certain way so that a warrant could be, so the information could be compiled and taken to a magistrate and get a warrant for mental evaluation. Um, Also, in the same way that the team is formed in my living environment, the same idea, the same thing happens in my workplace and anywhere I am, in the gym, and so on. Someone is called and say and is told by this team, this main team member, the community team manager, I'm going to say, and the person in whatever environment I'm in, say for instance the gym, they would call up the person and say, well, so and so is there. I would like to like you to keep an eye on the person. And if I were to talk to people in the gym, for instance, I'm talking to men who may strike up a conversation on a topic of interest, or I ask a question of a certain person, everything will be reported back to the team member. And I'm suspecting also that there's some sort of a community court in which cases are tried, quote unquote, where enough information is received from the public, and this manager of this team stands as a judge. So instead of having the person charged with a real crime, you have this quasi community court system where your team manager, the community team manager, tries you and judges you and finds you guilty or not. And if he finds you guilty, he or she, then you are officially charged. So it's a filter process. So you could well imagine how things could be misinterpreted and lied about to create a file to then give to the police, and then to create enough information to lay a charge. Again, part of a conspiracy to do so, because the intention of targeting a person is to destroy the person. So nothing positive is necessarily going to be reported on the person. A monitor or a reporter is going to take on the responsibility to do so with the idea of breaking down the person and destroying the person. So there's nothing positive that's going to ever be said. So more and more, progressively, the person is going to be portrayed as a criminal and artificially criminalized to the point where the person will be charged at some point. All part of an entrapment process. Now, how are these reports, how do they get into the system? Well, at some point, I'd imagine that in my case, I think a family member is involved, and they're constantly calling the police, maybe working with the police in their jurisdiction and portraying me a certain way and convincing the police that, yes, we are mentally ill and so on. And yes, I need help. When these reports filter out in the community, of course, you're harassed even more. So the more reporting there is, the more harassment there is. And there may be even an alert system where, different grades of alerts go on, red, orange, green, and so on. And then you'd have a system where people can access, where you're ticked off, quote unquote, where everything's okay, she's fine. You don't have to monitor her for anything. And then somebody makes a call and say, well, she interacted so-and-so place with so-and-so person, and her voice was a little bit high, and she showed a little bit of anxiety. Then an orange alert will go on. I'm suspecting that the community is carrying on this program. So that's the team reporting process that artificially criminalizes you progressively, and as it's meant to do. The human trafficking side of this is where you're handed over hand to hand to be monitored by different people. And in a lot of cases, if you're represented as a prostitute, males are going to step forward and they're going to take on the responsibility to monitor you. Because then, if you're already represented as a prostitute or suspected to be one, and there are fees levied and some sort of a municipal account as a result of all the reporting that's being done, and a judge, quote unquote, a community judge finding you guilty of certain things and fees are levied, then these males are going to come forward and pay the fee and then say, yeah, we'll monitor this person. Now, you can well imagine that if somebody paid a fee and the target, in my case, myself, have no idea what the fee is for, because none of this is being disclosed to me. As you can tell, I'm saying I'm suspecting, because none of this has been disclosed to me by my family, any community members, any employers, no one, or the police. So I'm suspecting this is what's going on. So then, if you are found guilty by this community team, then fees can be levied on some sort of an account that's associated with your activity, but you don't know. So a male can then pay the fees, and a male from your environment, whatever environment that is, say for instance the workplace, and then take on monitoring responsibility or some sort of a stewardship over you. So in other words, some have power over you. So then you can imagine that if somebody were to pay money on your behalf, but you don't know it, the question has to be asked, why would a stranger do it? Especially if you're represented as a prostitute. Why would a stranger pay money on your behalf? Well, if you're a suspected prostitute and somebody pays something, or pay you directly, or pay on behalf of you a bill, or in this case a fee, well, certainly the person will be expecting some sort of service for it. So it's a way of solicitation. So anybody who pays a fee on your behalf without you knowing, in this kind of a setup that I just described, is actually soliciting you, because they would expect something in return for the money that they've paid. So it's setting you up to be solicited and to be enslaved, sexually enslaved, because then the fear is they let you know that they have reporting rights by the directed conversations and so on, harassing comments. So then you're coerced, well, they try to coerce you into having sexual relationships, because then they let you know that there are these fees, and they expect something in return for the fees. Why is this not being disclosed? I have no idea. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Um, I'm suspecting that the whole idea behind it is to human traffic, is to sexually enslave, and to entrap the person and to have control over the person's life, to determine where you get hired, who hires you, how much you get paid, and so on. Because if you're registered with enough complaints that criminalizes you, then, and that information is in the public arena and in employers' hands, then your employability goes down, and at some point your life is of no value, because you wouldn't even be able to get employers' insurance after a certain point if that much information is out there about you. And I believe this is the way I am being targeted. I'm suspecting. We will continue trying to get information about this. I am suspecting that this whole process, with regard to myself, has resulted in legal actions that I am facing right now. And I do believe it's all directly related and all interconnected. The fact that it's not disclosed is beyond belief to me at this point, because there is so much activity that's going on that's putting my life in danger. It should be disclosed. Talk to you another time.